Hello basketball fans, and welcome to this week's edition of Mustang Basketball with Brad Bigler. I'm your host, Kelly Loft, Athletic Communications Director at Southwest Minnesota State University, and glad you could join us here at Studio One and on the web at smsumustangs.com. We're going to talk Mustang basketball again. A Mustang victory this past week on the road to close the regular season. Mustangs beat Minnesota State Mankato 79-71, and after all of topsy-turvy Saturday night, the Mustangs pick up the #2 seed in the NSIC tournament. So lots to talk about this week on this week's show as we talk about the win against the Mustangs, or Mustangs over the Mavericks, 79-71 this past Saturday. And Coach, as we mentioned, we'll talk about the scenarios and some of the things that had to happen. That was kind of our bracket busting all weekend, all week, trying to figure out where we could go. And Mustangs could have gone to a 1 seed, could have gone to a 4. You knew you were playing a home game, but the first thing you had to take care of was getting a win against Minnesota State, and you guys did that, jumping out to a great start, 20-4 lead, and you win by 8.
Yeah, the guys came out that first 5 minutes, and we're getting a lot of action in the rim, getting some easy buckets, and getting some stops as well.
Yeah, SMSU, as you mentioned, took that 20-4 lead. The Mavericks did come back and cut it to an 8-point halftime Mustang lead, 40-32. SMSU 53% shooting in that half. Second half, was probably good. You saw the Mavericks make a few runs, but you guys were able to, you battle tested your 26th game of the season and were able to hold them off. Again, still shooting at a high percentage. The Mustangs in the last, 8 of the last 9 games have shot over 50% from the field, and that continued on Saturday.
Yeah, Minnesota State Mankato, it's their senior night. They're going to come out ready to play. Steven Kirschbaum had a little extra bounce to his step, and they were ready to play. Anytime you're going to go on the road in the NSIC, I don't care if it's versus a first-rated team or the last team in the conference. You have to be ready to play, and I think this is a very talented conference. Well,
Jordan Miller led the Mustangs with 19 points on 6 of 10 shooting. He was 3 of 5 from three-point range, and the impressive numbers on those, Coach. Every one of those points came in the second half, and you had an 8-point lead, scored 40 points in the first half, and your leading scorer hadn't scored. So that's a good sign, I guess you could say, but he came out in the second half and really proved that he's an all-conference type caliber player.
Yeah, in that first half, give credit to Matt Zager coming out early, getting us out, getting us some confidence, getting us some momentum. I thought Nick Smith had a pretty solid effort throughout the night. And then Jordan Miller in the second half, like what you need out of your leader, he just stepped up and he kind of closed the game.
Now, Nick Smith in the first half was a perfect 7 of 7 from the field. He finished the game with 17 points, and as Coach mentioned, Matt Zager also a solid game, 14 points for the Mustangs on 7 of 11 shooting. And, we got good bench play again, a couple of field goals each from Barnes, West, and Carlson. Trench hit a couple of three-pointers. And, you look at the stats, and that's kind of the numbers, that's the success, the formula for Mustang basketball. Balanced attack, get your leading score around 18 points. Trent Carlson hits a couple of threes. The only spot that's been normal is Casey Susanguth, scoring 8 points or so. But, that's kind of the trademark for SMSU hoops this season.
And I think that's what makes us tough to guard, is there's a lot of different guys who can step up and score when they're given their certain opportunities. And it does always start with Jordan Miller. You look to get the ball into Nick Smith as much as possible, but after that, when other guys' opportunities present themselves, they just need to take advantage of it. And when Trent Carlson's knocking down threes coming off the bench, that's a huge factor for us. Lavion West has been playing at a pretty high level here the last 6 or 8 games, and Casey Susanguth has been fairly consistent the entire year. So when those guys come off the bench and score like they do, it makes us a lot more difficult of a team to play.
You bet. Mustangs finished the regular season at 16-10. 15-7 in the Northern Sun Conference, and we'll talk about this game in depth and look at some of the highlights here shortly. But you look now, you get second place in the conference. St. Cloud State loses at home to Concordia St. Paul. We had a chance on the bus ride home. Watching Bemidji, if they lose, the Mustangs share a conference championship with Bemidji and St. Cloud. It didn't happen. Bemidji beat Winona State, but second place in this conference. Your picks, I think, 7th in the preseason poll, and to come up there and be a second place is an accomplishment and get that #2 seed.
Yeah, and give credit to Bemidji State for what they've done this year. That's a great story on their own right. Just to be able to turn around, how Coach Bowen has got that done up there. And Elliser is a phenomenal player and is a guy that will probably be an All-American candidate. And they're playing at a pretty high level as well. For ourselves, to be able to get second place, kind of finish the season strong, I think that shows growth in this team, and hopefully we can keep it running.
And we've seen over the years Mustangs going to the Elite Eight, Minnesota State and St. Cloud the last 2 years going to the Final Four of this conference. One of the best in the country, and SMSU to get second place, really a great accomplishment. The conference tournament begins on Wednesday, February 29th at the top 4 seeds, and the Mustangs, the number 2 seed, will host Minnesota Duluth, the 7th seed. We'll preview that game here shortly. Other first round matchups, the number 1 seed is Bemidji State, and they will play the 8th seed Wayne State. That'll be at home in Bemidji. Wayne State winning 3 straight games to end the season. They got some help, and they make the tournament. The 5-4 game has number 5 Augustana, who just beat Minnesota State Moorhead on Friday, going back to Moorhead and playing the Dragons. And then the 6th seed Winona State playing at number 3 St. Cloud State. It's going to be a great tournament. And then the semifinals and finals will be held at Taylor Arena in Rochester, Minnesota. First time the conference tournament has ever been held in Rochester. The Mustangs would play at 7:30 on Saturday night if they win on Wednesday, and the championship game will be at 4:30. And the big picture, later that Sunday night, the NCAA will have their selection show, which will announce the 64-team field to the NCAA tournament. And right now the Mustangs a 7th seed in the NCAA Central Regional going into last week. Now this week's rankings coming out on Wednesday. We'll see where the Mustangs fall, but could move up to maybe a 6 or 5 or possibly a 4. We'll have to wait and see on that. But Coach, go back to that game on Saturday, and we'll look ahead to the conference tournament game against the Bulldogs here shortly. But against the Mavericks, a team that has some talent. We talked about that in last week's show, and playing their last game of the season, and they got nothing to lose in that kind of game, and you guys are playing for a 2 seed, and it was just great to see. I mean, what was that energy like in the locker room beforehand to come out so strong? And do you sense any kind of pressure before the game? Because it really seems like the guys are just doing what they're supposed to do, and just knowing, hey, they got a confidence level right now that's pretty high. Not a cocky attitude, but just like, hey, we know what we can do on the court.
Yeah, I think you build that throughout the season, that confidence, and being able to win 7 or 8 out of the last however many. I mean, I think that's where they've kind of earned that confidence. But at the same time, we need to stay humble and not forget how we got here. I think that's where you saw our guys come out that first 5 minutes, just playing the intensity level that they're capable. And we talk about all the time, control what you can control. And that's our effort and energy on the defensive end, especially early on in the ball game, where maybe we can get some momentum, get the flow to the game, and our guys have been able to do that here the last few games.
A big question everybody asks as well, is looking at Bernard Birch, and he was hurt a couple of weeks ago against St. Cloud, missed most of that game. He toughed it out, played against Bemidji and UMD 2 weeks ago. He did start again against the Mavericks, and I'm sure with his injury, it's just a slow process and trying to play through it. But I'm sure getting better every day. And
Bernard has that little bounce back to his step. I think he's pretty close to 100% right now, and we're going to treat him as such. He's been practicing at full length, and he's ready to go.
All right. Well, the Mustangs, again, win 79-71 over the Mavericks in Minnesota State this past Saturday afternoon. Mustangs shoot 53%, out-rebound the Mavericks 37-29, and got to the free throw line. The magic number, as Coach says, if they can make more free throws than the opponents shoot, they usually win, and that was the case. 17 of 22 from the line, and the Mavericks 7 of 9. Let's take a look at the highlights from the game at Taylor Center in Mankato, and we start off here in this first half. And as you mentioned, good action to the rim. There's Matt Zager with a basket. SMSU a 20-4 early lead.
And early on in the game, I thought our guys, like we see, just getting layups here, making Mankato defend the paint. Again, going into the game, we know they're going to switch away from ball, screens away from the ball, being cautious with our passes. Getting good cutting action like that is a way of defeating that.
Well, this is the Zager and Smith show early on. It's all baskets by Zager and Smith here in our first, 8 or 9 baskets of the game. And Nick, nice touch off the window. Again, he finished with 17 points. Here's Carlson, big 3, back-to-back threes for Trent.
And sometimes you need to get lucky right there. The ball gets tipped our way, and Trent's wide open and knocks it down.
There's Casey Susanguth getting a pass from Bernard Birch, drawing the foul. Casey 1 of 2 from the line on that trip. Jamel Barnes taking it to the rack. He finished with 7 points, 3 assists. Nice move by Giddings with the basket. And then Bernard drawing the foul. And then Jamel Barnes dropping a dime here. Great backdoor move to Zager for 2 of his 14.
Good ball movement and staying with the play. Guys are staying active. Lavion West has been rebounding the basketball a lot better here in that last 6 to 8 games. And there you see him getting the offensive rebound with Nick and Matt finishing up the play.
Nick getting fouled. And a couple of more. Here's 3 highlights for Smith. Again, he was 7 of 7 in the first half. Posting up, middle of your screen. And then you'll follow up with a dunk on a great pass from Jordan Miller.
Jordan with a great find, and Nick finishes with the dunk.
And then in transition, Mustangs beat the Mavericks down the floor. And a hoop for Smith. And then just a couple of more highlights as well here as we start the second half. Those battle there, Connor O'Brien and Smith going at it the entire ball game.
And that's where you see Mankato's their competitive edge. You know, they were competing. They were getting after us, and I thought our guys responded well in the second half.
Mustangs get a defensive rebound. Zager comes down with it, goes coast to coast, and gets the basket. Off a miss by West. Mustangs grab the offensive board. They had 14 old boards in the game. Mavericks had 17. It's one concern. They did have a couple of possessions where they got 3 or 4 on one possession, but nonetheless, Mustangs able to fight that off. Miller with the 3. Again, all 19 of his points in the second half. Giddings drills a 3-pointer. And then we go to Barnes. Gets a screen, pull up 15-footer. That's a great shot, great thing to have in the arsenal for Trammell.
And Mankato in the second half, we're switching up zone and man, and our guys have to be able to recognize that. And I thought at times we executed well. At times we could have been a little bit better.
Great find again for Barnes. He had 3 assists. That's the stroke you're feeling it for Jordan. Gets the handoff from Birch and scores.
And right now, this is where he's closing. At this point, he's made a couple buckets. He's looking to finish, and as someone on the bench called it, I kind of laughed when they said it, but they said it's his Miller time. And you know, Jordan just took advantage of the opportunity and finished the game, and that's what we need out of him when we get to those tough ball games down the stretch. Need a bucket or just need a good possession. Jordan's a guy that many times will have the ball in his hands.
Yes, did a very, it's very great ball game, 19 points, and you could say that it's Zager time too. I'm not sure what they mean by Miller time. 17 for Nick Smith and 14 for Matt Zager. Again, Mustangs win 79-71 over the Mavericks and finish the regular season 16-10. 15-7 in the conference. And it's just a grind, Coach. 22 games in this conference. We go back, and we've got a lot of basketball to play still, but now that we've finished the regular season, I remember being in Milwaukee mid-November, early November, and now here we are, and you know, your thoughts in this regular season, probably, you know, very excited where you're at. You've said, hey, we're going to finish second. You would have taken that. And you look at 16 wins and played a very difficult non-conference schedule. Very easily could have played maybe 4 weaker teams, and next thing you know, now you're sitting at 20-6 in your regular season. But I think it's all paid off in the long run to be battle tested on the road and in big games at home as well. Yeah,
looking at the body of work throughout the season, I think one thing that I was most proud of as we improved is just our emotions. I thought we kept our emotions in check throughout the year. We had some tough losses. We also had some big wins, and to be able to keep it at an even keel. For those of us who've been in the NSIC for a long time, we know how talented this conference is and how hard it is to go on the road and win. And just for this team to kind of develop, come together throughout the year, it's been fun to watch and fun to be a part of.
Well, now we had our focus, turn our attention to the conference playoffs, and that'll be Wednesday night, February 29th, 7 o'clock is the game time versus Minnesota Duluth, and it's a whiteout night. Knock on wood, hopefully the weather holds off, but we encourage all fans to wear white in support of the Mustangs, and something we came up with on Sunday, Coach, and we've tried it. We've had be proud, be bold, wear gold, those type of things. You see it a lot in the playoffs for the NBA, and we'll see. You try to get people to wear white, and it'd be kind of nice to have a great crowd and do that. We should mention for students watching at home, we want to thank Slumberland of Marshall and the SMSU Alumni Association. The conference sets the prices, and they get all the money from that. They say students have to pay $2. Well, those two businesses, the Alumni Association and Slumberland, have helped purchase the first 300 tickets for SMSU students. So the first 300 get in free. The gates open at 6 o'clock. After that, you have to pay the $2, and you must have an SMSU valid ID to get the ticket, one per person for that contest. So the Mustangs take on the Bulldogs, 7 o'clock. We just played UMD a week and a half ago, beat the Bulldogs 90-69 in Marshall. SMSU had a 50-28 halftime lead. UMD came back, got it to within 4 with just under 10, or within 5 with just under 10 minutes to go. But the Mustangs won. SMSU lost earlier in the year, 94-90 to the Bulldogs. Coach, this team very talented. They've got the second leading scorer in the conference in Ryan Rasmussen. They could shoot the 3, they could score, they can make free throws. Very dangerous team, and they've struggled the past week or so. They've lost 3 straight, but as we saw up in January, they're a good squad, and they have the ability to score.
And especially on the offensive end, just a combination of their 2 perimeter players, and you have Brett Irvin inside, who against us has had very good games here in Marshall. So yeah, it'll be a difficult matchup. We will not take them lightly. We know that it's going to be a different matchup this time around here in Marshall. They're not going to be coming off a game the night before. They won't be traveling the night before, so it's going to be a great game, and we look for our fans to come out in full force.
And of course, you look at the comparisons from Game 1 to Game 2 in that first matchup in Duluth. You forced the Bulldogs into 29 turnovers, but were able, not to take advantage of those turnovers and lost by 4. They cut that down to 12 in the second matchup. So they're preparing for everything the Mustangs are going to throw at them, and they can, as you mentioned, shoot the basketball. They made just 2 3-pointers, though, against the Mustangs in Marshall, and just 4 up in Duluth. But they have the ability, as you talked about, with Hottenstein and Rasmussen and Irvin. Those 3 are very talented.
Yeah, and all 3 of those guys are all conference caliber type players, all difficult matchups in their own right. We did change some matchups last time we played them, and we'll see if those matchups worked, and then we'll look to make some adjustments if we need to.
And you're talking about that, Coach. We played them January 20th, and then just a week and a half ago. Does the coaching staff put all both films together, or is it more like, well, that's a month and a half ago, things have changed, or do you more look at the recent games and the recent games they had against Winona and Upper Iowa this weekend?
Well, I think for us, when you look at them, a lot of it comes back to matchups and how we like to defend, and that's what we'll take our the most time in looking at. And then after that, we'll look at their scheme. And when you look at their scheme, you do probably more of the recent scheme, but we'll definitely look at both matchups and see what worked, and hopefully we can correct the things that did not work.
Well, the Mustangs back in the conference tournament, missed it last year, and it's great to be back playing in it. And Coach, I know it makes it busy for you and your coaching staff, quick turnarounds. If we win on Wednesday, we're playing Saturday, but this is what it's all about. I'm sure you guys are excited to be playing now into March, and that's exactly what your goal is when you start practice in October. And everything now is, there's still so many goals to go. There's not satisfied at all, but it's fun to be playing right now.
Yeah, and it truly is. These guys have worked hard in the offseason. They've earned this opportunity, and now hopefully we can take advantage of it. But to be playing in conference tournaments and potentially an NCAA tournament, if we earn that opportunity, it's a lot of fun, and the guys should be proud of what they've accomplished. But I know this group is hungry, and I know they want a whole lot more. We've talked a lot in big picture, and we want to do a couple things that no Southwest team has ever done. We've never been able to win an SIC tournament championship, and that would be a great experience for these guys. So we without question, we know that there's a lot of goals out there to still attain, and we're still hungry.
Well, again, the Mustangs play at 7 o'clock on Wednesday against Minnesota Duluth, and if the Mustangs win, they'll play the winner of St. Cloud State and Winona State. That'll be at 7:30 on Saturday against in Rochester, Minnesota. The championship would be at 4:30 on Sunday in Rochester as well. And of course, as we mentioned, we have to look at the big picture as well, regional rankings wise. And last Wednesday, February 22nd, SMSU number 7, the top 8 make the NCAA tournament. And now this past weekend we did get some help. Some teams ahead of us went 0-3. Teams behind us also lost. So who knows what's going to happen on Wednesday's rankings, but possibly maybe a 6 or 5, as we mentioned. And we should mention to fans, if you see Winona State in the rankings, they will be in there on Wednesday again. But with the NCAA more than likely going to nullify 16 games for them overall, they will technically not be in the regional unless they win the tournament. So, you kind of almost slide every team up in the regional rankings because they need to win the tournament to get in this season. So it kind of messes things up for now. But as you mentioned, Coach, you just got to take care of business, keep winning, and Sunday night we'll know what we're doing if we win a championship.
Yeah, and that's where hopefully on Sunday night we have an opportunity to enjoy that, to watch the Coach NCAA show, depending on where we're at, but on the way back home. Because if we were on the way back home,
we'll probably miss it. We'll be on the
bus.
Be
able to miss it, and that wouldn't be a bad thing either. But yeah, just a lot of fun, a lot of excitement right now, and really appreciate all the support from the community. There's been a lot of people that have contacted me and wish us best of luck, and just very thankful for everything that they do for us, and hopefully we'll see them on Wednesday night.
Yep, that'll be great. And we should mention there's nothing for certain, but it looks like the NCAA Regional will more than likely be in Golden, Colorado, which is a suburb just west of Denver, at the Colorado School of Mines. They won the regular season championship in the RMAC. They're the #1 team right now in the region, and regardless what happens this weekend, they'll probably be the #1 seed, and that's where the regional would be held in a couple of weeks. But still, lots of basketball to be played, and a big one coming up Wednesday at the RA, 7 o'clock versus Minnesota Duluth. And hopefully we'll be talking about 3 games here in the next show for Mustang basketball here with Brad Bigler on next week's episode. Well, thanks for watching this week's show. For the head coach, Brad Bigler, I'm Kelly Loft. Thanks for watching. Until next week, go Mustangs.